In this video, we'll be breaking down our Boats and Crows reroll comp, covering the strongest items, augments, anomalies, and more. So this comp mainly uses form swappers alongside a bunch of bronze synergies with the 3-cost form swappers Gangplank and Swain as your main carries. The strength of this comp is simply how hard it spikes once it comes online with your 3-star duo carries as well as 4 form swappers activated. The main issue is it is reliant on finding Jace, a contested 5-cost unit, as he'll make it possible for you to unlock 4 form swappers. So if you don't have enough gold to roll for him or you simply can't find him, you'll struggle to compete with other late game boards. The full comp uses Gangplank, Swain, Jace, Elise, Vi, Nami, Nunu, and Rel. The comp doesn't have too much flexibility when it comes to replacement options though, as you kinda always want 4 form swappers in. One other strong comp variation that keeps 4 form swappers active though is if you get the Why Not Both augment, which will include you using multiple copies of your form swappers. If you see an early copy of Mordekaiser or get yourself a Conqueror emblem, you can instead pivot to our Command and Conquerors comp by turning GP into a Conqueror too. If you stumble upon lots of early Corki copies, you could even drop out this comp entirely by switching to a full Emissary comp or even a more scrap focused comp. But if you don't want to change out too much, then the only real flexibility here comes later on at level 9 if you get there, when you can then choose to add in someone like Rumble who would additionally activate Scrap and Sentinel, or simply just another high cost value unit like Caitlyn, or any of those shiny 6 costs if you get extremely lucky. Let's get on to items next then, and this is pretty simple as you can just genuinely slam any of your 3-cost carries items as soon as you find them. Gangplank is going to be our main damage source and we always want to play him in his ranged form, which is why Shojin, Infinity Edge and Last Whisper will be his best in slots. If you don't have the Shojin, you could also look to replace it with a Rageblade. Last Whisper could be replaced with Giant Slayer or Guardbreaker, but we really want that Infinity Edge for his ult to crit. Swain is going to be our main tank in the frontline, so we'll be playing him in his melee form. And for him, you want to go for those classic tank items like Warmogs, Stone Plate and Bramble Vest. But you can also slam things like Sunfire Cape, Redemption or Adaptive Helm. After you've finished itemizing these two, you then want to throw all your remaining items onto Jace later on. The great thing about form swappers though is also how flexible they can be around items. So if you find yourself with items like Shojin, Giant Slayer and another IE, you could use Jace as a backliner in the ranged form. Or if you have more melee items like BT and Titans, you can place him in the front line next to your Swain. This is also why Thief's Gloves is such an insane item in a form swappers comp, as you can simply throw this item onto Jace or Elise and then decide every round whether you want them in the front line or the back line depending on which items they've got. So now let's move on to augments, and as we just mentioned, any augments that give you a free glove component or Thief's Gloves is going to be S tier in every version of any form swapper comp. Band of Thieves, Mace's Will, Lucky Gloves or Roll the Dice will all be instant picks here. Other strong S tier augments will be any reroll ones like Rolling for Days or Prismatic Ticket, but you can also go for economy augments like Max Cap, as we play 8 units here total and we can stay at level 7 with a much bigger bank to roll with. Trifecta is also amazing as we play around 2 3-cost carries, and this buffs them up, making them even more powerful. One strong item augment that we need to mention here too is the Thorn Plated augment, which makes your Bramble Vest deal more damage, which is perfect on Swain in the frontline, turning him almost into another main damage carry. Other A tier augments include any combat augments like Pumping Up, Spear's Will for a small AD buff and a free BF sword, or any reroll augments to help you 3-star your carries faster, like Heroic Grab Bag or Team Building. And before we move on, don't forget about the Why Not Both form swapping augment too, because although it will adjust your comp, it can be extremely strong. Now let's have a look at some anomalies, and we definitely want to be aiming it onto Gangplank or Swain here. Gangplank wants any AD ones like Attack Expert, Cold the Weak, Touch of Frost or Comeback Story. And Swain will take the big tanky choices like Stone Skin, Deep Roots, Mage Armor or Laser Eyes. Now since we are going to be using a lot of our gold for rerolling in this comp, we would recommend you to go for any of the ones you see first here, as 3-starring these 2 carries is the most important objective. Speaking of which, let's move on to win conditions, and your best chance to win here is having your 3-cost carried 3-starred with the perfect items on them. Ideally, you'll also want to find an early copy of Jace so you can immediately activate 4 form swappers without having to roll too much gold, and then you can preserve some health to have enough time to find Jace 2-starred as well, as you'll still need to push high levels in the late game to compete with other capped out boards. Getting your hands on the Why Not Both augment will also significantly increase your chances of taking home first place, as it makes all of your main carries absolutely OP. Pushing to level 9 to add in Rumble or a 6-cost unit is definitely your strongest final board, and anything further than that at level 10 will just be additional 6 costs or utility units. Let's get on to the game plan then, and the best opener for this comp is by activating 2 Conquerors early on to get your stacks going for your Swain. If you can use Darius and Draven, these are the perfect item holders for Gangplank and Swain. So play around these two and then add in some more frontline like the two bruisers Steb and Trundle. Level up to 4 at stage 2-1 and try to play for a win streak. But if you do have a really bad opener with poor components and no good unit choices, you could also go for a lose streak and play for carousel priority instead. Aim to hit level 6 at around stage 3-2 and start adding in your core units Gangplank and Swain and transition their carry items instantly onto them. It's okay to roll a little bit here to find these units and stabilize and either keep up your win streak or turn your lose streak around now. Here you can activate 4 Conquerors and 2 Scrap, which is a solid mid-game board to play with. The 100 Conqueror stack gives you a big chance of hitting 1 lesser champion duplicator as well, which is ideal for those 2-3 cost units. Don't forget though, our main focus is on achieving level 7 with a strong economy, as this is where we start to really lock in our comp. Level up to 7 at around the end of stage 3 and start your reroll strategy here to get Swain and GP 3-starred as quickly as possible. If you are being contested, you will need to roll pretty aggressively here to make sure you hit your carries before anyone else does. But if not, just take your time and roll above 50 gold to keep your economy strong, as long as you're not too low on HP. This is also the stage where you want to try and finalize both of your carries items, and pick up any early copies of Elise, and of course Jace too if you get extremely lucky. Once you have successfully 3-starred your Gangplank and Swain, now you can look to level up to 8. And your next focus here is to activate 4 form swappers as soon as you can by bringing in Elise and Jace. You can also roll here for your remaining units in Vi, Nunu, Nami and Rel, and drop down to 2 Conqueror as you'll prefer those team-wide Sorcerer and Emissary buffs. If you're still feeling super strong and your 3 stars are winning you fights back to back, you can now look to save up gold again and push for level 9. Where here you'll have better odds at finding Jace if you haven't already, but then you can also add in Rumble to activate Sentinel and Scrap. Or alternatively find yourself a 6 cost unit to bring in instead. At this point in the game you need to 2-star your Jace, make sure Elise is 2-starred too, slam some items onto Jace and keep scouting those boards to compete for first place. Speaking of scouting, let's have a look at positioning now. And the most important thing is to remember to keep your Gangplank in ranged form in one corner and Swain in the centre of your front line. You're going to want to make sure that Gangplank is as far away from any stuns as possible, so make sure the positioning opposite from enemy Elises or Scions in the front line. You want to place Jace in the backline or the front line depending on which items you have on him, and the same applies to Elise. Have Nami take the other corner in the backline and place Jace's Hex Core on the left frontline Hex right in front of Gangplank, as he should still get the bust from it in this position, as well as some extra frontline shielding too. And that should give you everything you need to know on how to win with our Boats and Crows comp. Remember, you can follow along with this guide in-game with our desktop overlay, so click the link below to download that and bring it with you into your next game. Good luck in your games guys, we'll catch you in the next video, and as always, take care.